Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Pivoted Success Podcast, hosted by our friend Sean Cochran from TCC Canada and myself, Jared Goldsmith from eSAX. Today, we're very pleased to be welcoming two outstanding business community leaders from the Kiwanis Music Festival. We have Kim and Andy. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you for asking.
So thank you so much. Over the years, we've heard so much about the Kiwanis Music Festival in particular and how much it does to support the music community. Tell us, what is the Kiwanis Music Festival all about?
So the Kiwanis Music Festival started in 1945 as a 3-day festival. The mandate is to promote the enjoyment and study of music in our young people, in our community's young people, through a competitive festival. It's not like Blues Fest. It's not like any of those other big festivals that you know about. We are a competitive festival where kids enter to get adjudicated, to win prizes. It challenges them to grow in their musical journey. And yeah, we've been doing this since, well, not me personally, obviously, but we've been doing it since 1945.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Jared, it's really exciting because I was a participant in the festival years ago. And some of the people that I sang with all those many years ago have gone on to international careers in singing. Gerald Finley, Danny Taylor, and of course, we've had other notables that have gone through the festival program and gone on to, really wonderful careers in music.
Yeah, and this really speaks dear to my heart in particular. I've been playing the saxophone for 35 years. And
that can't be true.
Pardon me, Andy?
That can't be true. How you're not that old?
Oh, I like you even more now. Yeah, that's very kind. Thank you. but all I have to say is the Kiwanis Music Festival has been a staple to help kids achieve musical success and just learn more about what's capable and working with others, playing with others, as the case may be. So let's ask about how both of you were affected by COVID, and then we'll talk about how the organization was affected. Why don't we start with you, Andy?
How was I affected by COVID? Well, I was actually down in the Caribbean and had to come home. My life has changed. I'm basically retired, and now my life consists of helping a few seniors with their daily requirements or weekly requirements, and trying to, like everybody else, stay social, but from a distance. And I think that everyone is a year in now, really starting to feel the mental challenge that comes with that. That's on a personal level. Kim?
Yeah.
So for me, I work part-time at a local bookstore. And of course, we were locked down, didn't reopen until the end of May. But that did give me a chance to turn the festival around, because COVID happened and the pandemic lockdown happened, and then we were supposed to start our festival in 2 weeks. And so, at first it was, okay, so do we just postpone this? Like, how bad is this going to be, right? Do we just postpone it into May? No, that wasn't going to be a thing. And so, yeah, my whole life got pretty much consumed in April in trying to figure out with the board the best way to turn the festival around.
Kim, back then, did I guess nobody had any clue on how extensive this was, right? You mentioned, okay, we'll just postpone it a month, see how that goes.
Yeah, no, it was absolutely. It's like, well, okay, how bad can it be, right? It's a flu. It's no problem. It'll be fine. Everybody's overreacting. And it's like, well, actually, no, they weren't. And yeah, it really forced us to think, how can we do this and respect all the work that's gone into preparing for festival. Yeah. And I, I thank God every day that I have an amazing board, because without the board, oh boy, it would have been really, really rough.
Well,
so how long have you been involved with the Kiwanis Music Festival?
So this is actually, we were doing the math. This is my 10th festival.
So 10 beautiful live years without, I'm sure there's some hiccups along the way, but nothing like we've seen like today. So that must have been quite a sort of paradigm shift from the live experience to what you would have to sort of pivot to next. So what did you guys decide to do after delaying, like so many other people saying exactly what you did? Oh, it's just a month, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
So Kim was, you know, she says, thank goodness for the board. And we all say, thank goodness for Kim. So I guess there's some sort of symbiotic relationship that we've got going on here. But she was really terrific, evaluating what opportunities there were. And all of a sudden this notion of, okay, let's do a virtual festival. And you asked about hiccups. Yes, there were a few hiccups over the years. And last year, I do remember having a few conversations with some participants who were not super happy about the new format. And listen, we will really love the day that we get to go back to our normal live performance festival format. In the meantime, Kim and Christopher Asquith have done a remarkable job of basically turning something that we thought was maybe going to collapse into something that has rebounded and continues to be a positive influence in the community for the kids and participants in the festival.
So I have two questions further to that. One is, are you finding that because you've gone virtual, your reach is much wider than just Ottawa, maybe more of the outskirts or even across Ontario? And two, exactly how did you conduct the festival virtually?
So our reach, so we haven't had any people coming to us from outside of our range. Our range is pretty big to begin with. Like, we get kids from Pembroke, we get kids from Brockville. We've had bands from the other side of Montreal, almost as far as Quebec City, come, and they make it like a school trip, right? They come to Ottawa, they do the Kiwanis Music Festival, and they go to the Parliament Hill, and they do all that stuff. So we have a large reach, being the National Capital Region Music Festival, right? This year's smaller because, obviously, because of COVID, we couldn't get many ensembles. I found out yesterday we actually have one string orchestra, but otherwise we have no bands, no choirs. You know, those guys, because you can't breathe, and so in a group. So it's a smaller festival than usual. I don't remember really, Andy, how like who had the idea first about doing a virtual festival, about having the kids do videos and submit the videos. And so, but it you know, they submitted their videos, and then the adjudicators adjudicate from their homes or their offices or wherever, because it's all up on YouTube. So that's the format that we ended up doing. But I don't know if it was just kind of everybody brainstorming and, hey, let's do it this way. It was such a blur last year.
Truly, I'm with Kim. I don't remember where the initial seed of the idea came from, but very grateful. Like I said, Kim and Christopher did an amazing job of getting us on track, and here we are, year 2 in a virtual festival. Yeah. With hundreds of participants, and actually the judging is just about to begin. Yeah.
When you would accept video submissions from students or children, would it be the individual, or would you have like their band, let's say, in a room, adjudicating the whole band at once?
So we didn't do bands. We couldn't do bands because, again, they couldn't gather. Like last year, especially, because nobody really knew how bad everything was. So that whole thing just came to a screeching halt. We ended up refunding all the ensembles their entry fees because they couldn't participate. It's not that they wouldn't, it's they couldn't. And so we refunded all those fees back to them. And we were actually very generous. If anybody felt that for whatever reason they did not want to participate in the virtual festival, we just refunded their fees, because we get it. You know, everything was so stressful last year. Yeah.
It's so nice to hear, because there's so many different stories you hear from people and the struggles that they had, especially last year in March, April, and the sort of beginning of it all. because it's a tough situation, especially for businesses like the Kiwanis Festival. I mean, the amount of money being lost all of a sudden, but I mean, having to look at the individual and trying to help in any way that you can. I mean, it's so important, and hopefully it paves the way to sort of future sponsorship opportunities or whatever the case may be for people to get back involved and sort of help out as things return to a normal.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you're prepping for the second season of the online event. So how has this second round been for you after living through it the first time?
A lot less stressful. I will guarantee that. I will just right out say that. This year, back in September, we actually said, okay, April will be a virtual festival again. There's no way that the world will have righted itself in time to properly have a festival. And so when the kids were entering the festival, they knew up front what they were going to be doing, and they were prepared for it, as opposed to last year where it was just a quick turnaround. Oh my God, what are we going to do? So everybody who's entered is in 100%. They're very appreciative that we're doing this, and that, we're giving them this format rather than no format to get the feedback from the adjudicators.
Kim, speaking of my own experience, I remember my high school and Seychelles University days were very instrumental, very key to my music upbringing. And not having the opportunity to perform live for up to 2 years at that age is detrimental. Yeah. How would you say that this is affecting the aspirations of young musicians?
Oh boy, I know that from what I hear from the high school music teachers, they're struggling. They're struggling to be able to offer music to their kids, especially the ones who are in grade 11 and grade 12, where this is really the last kind of school chance to do stuff. But it's not just of everything, right? It's not just music, as much as music is a huge part of their lives. It's all those things that they're not going to be able to do, because of the pandemic. But yeah, they're struggling. They're trying to come up with ways. I know that individually they're all doing their lessons and there's that type of stuff, but as groups, it's very difficult.
Yeah, well, that's so tough, especially when you've got bands, orchestras, groups that can no longer perform. Yeah. And I mean, even from choirs to all that sort of stuff. I mean, my stepfather's very, very heavily involved with singing and music and all that sort of stuff. And it's been impossible for them to get together and do anything. So they're starting to get more creative with the ways that they can do it, which is great. Yeah. But I mean, I think everybody's just so anxious to get back to it. But from the sort of kids' perspective, submitting their performances, I remember being a kid myself performing in the Kiwanis Music Festival, and having to get up there in front of all those people was terrifying, and I hated it. So if I could have stayed at home and recorded it on YouTube, I would have loved that. But I think that was a very valuable experience that you're missing out on, too, to be able to sort of be like, okay, I can do this, or not. But at least I'm going to try.
Yeah. And that's sure. It's nothing. Oh, go ahead, Andy.
This is why, the live performance is so invaluable to our development. You were talking about how difficult it is to get together. So I play cash music with some buddies, and last year we would literally set up in somebody's front yard so that we could be distanced, and the whole neighborhood would pull out their chairs and bring out their cocktails and stuff like that while we were playing. And, they'd say, oh, can you play this? And that's how desperate people are for, some live music to be played. So I would imagine that for the kids, it's the same thing. A lot of them really do thrive in this environment of live music. And so taking that away, or having that taken away for now a year, it's a harsh reality.
Do you think maybe in 2022 even, or even perhaps longer, there will be a big boom? You'll find that your festival would triple in size. You might get X amount of funding because of the need for live performances again. Is this something you perhaps have anticipated in the future?
I think if we go back to, because we dropped about a third of our entries because of the pandemic, right? So going back to where we were, and possibly a little bit more, It'd be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, we'll adapt. If we, I don't see us getting like, twice as many as we normally would or any of that, but certainly, that'd be kind of cool if we did.
Well, the other thing that has happened, and Jared, you being involved in music, you're probably aware of this. So many people during the pandemic have chosen to adopt an instrument or try to flex their muscles vocally, or all of these different things. They've said, oh, well, I'm working from home, so I think I'll buy a guitar and learn how to play guitar, or I'm going to buy a keyboard and learn how to play my favorite songs. So it could well be that after we get through and back to the quote unquote new normal, we do see a boom, and we want to be in a position to accommodate that. And I know that with Kim and Chris at the really, they're driving the bus. As long as they continue, I'm sure that we will be able to do those kinds of expansions. And who knows what kind of opportunities will fall out from having done it now for 2 years anyway in a virtual mode. We'll see.
Yeah, we do have categories for like novice adult, so that people who do take up an instrument later in life can enter the festival and get feedback from adjudicators, the same as the kids. They don't in a normal festival. They don't actually perform with like the 7-8-year-olds. They perform in their own classes. But it's recognizing that there are adults out there who are starting an instrument or singing or whatever later in life. And so we established that a few years ago now. This year, for the first year, we started world instruments. So we have a Chinese instrument class this year for the very first time. Which is kind of cool. And we had a whole 18 entries in that one, which is, again, we're happy with that because it's brand new. Nobody really knows about it. So, yeah.
Well, at least the adjudicators do.
Oh, the adjudicators do, yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're hoping that in my vision, and it aligns well with Kim's, we would like to see an expansion of the festival. We would like to, because in particular, I grew up in a conservatory background. I sang in a very formal environment for years. But I am also well aware that is not the only track that people use to learn and to appreciate music. And so it would be great if we can find ways of incorporating these other methodologies that people use. And it could be as simple as, the kid who hears a song on the radio and says, wow, I kind of like to learn how to play that guitar, and goes to a pawn shop, picks up a $50 guitar and goes home and self-taught. There's a lot of autodidacts out there. And so it may be that there are other ways that we can expand the festival to incorporate, again, our mandate, music appreciation through education. And so anything that we can do to facilitate that sort of construct is what we're looking for.
That's a fantastic mission statement that educate and help people learn and experience the musical world. Now, again, let's put our forward-thinking fedoras on. Would you anticipate when we are able to meet in person and the festival gets back to, like you said, the new normal? Will there still be an option for virtual submissions going forward, kind of like hybrid?
We just talked about this.
We did actually just talk about this, and maybe I could certainly see a place for it. So, example, those orchestras or those school bands that are far flung, and it just would cost too much to come into the city to perform. That's an option. There are festivals. There are music festivals. They're not all Kiwanis music festivals, but there are music festivals right across the country. So you have to be careful not to kind of go into somebody else's backyard, right? But then there are also kids who festival jump. They go to various different festivals to get different adjudications, to win different trophies or scholarships or whatever. So but politically, you just have to be pretty careful about it. But I think that there would be a way to to have that option for people who just can't afford to come into the city for a live performance.
We also, one of the things, and again, Jared, you being hands-on in the music industry might well be aware of this, but increasingly, if somebody is applying to university for a music program, or they're going to audition for a band or an orchestra or whatever, most of the time now, it involves first a recorded submission. And so, pardon me, for a lot of our participants, last year and this year may be their first or second time ever actually doing something like this. And so we feel that not only have we contributed to the education and appreciation element, but we've also facilitated a new learning for them that may be very, very instrumental in their music careers going forward. To answer your question about what we're going to do in the future, that's, as I say, we just literally talked about it yesterday, and the question remains. We don't know. I would certainly hope that we can use this in some way to build on the future. I just don't know what that is yet.
Yeah, I guess
if you have any ideas, please share.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I guess the saying, "We'll cross that bridge when we get there," would probably apply. But also, like you said, as part of the learning component, the children have no choice; they have to submit, virtual submissions. But as a learning curve for if they were to apply for future orchestras or bands or universities, they would have to do this anyway. So it's a great start. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a great extra learning tool too, like you said, because again, it's all the different aspects of what they're going to need for their future. So live performance, definitely, that's going to be pivotal. But like you said, sending those digital submissions in, that's something that's important to get accustomed to. So getting the feedback from the adjudicators saying, look, it was muffled or something like that was still great. But if you're going to do it again or anything, I mean, just that feedback again is such a great thing to have, especially when everybody's so isolated right now.
Yeah, actually, on that note, Sean, just to let you know, we really, in fact, we instruct the adjudicators that with respect to the quality of the submission, because we know that there's going to be a variety. There's going to be some people that are, recording on an iPhone, and then there are going to be some people that are in a full studio gig setup. And so we can't, obviously it's, there's a subjective element here, but we really encourage the adjudicators to disregard the quality, focus on the musicality.
That it's tricky, right? Not everyone has the technology to be able to do high-end video. Not everyone even understands how to do high-end video or video at all. I mean, we have a lot of new Canadians that enter, and so the kids who are in school have a better knowledge than their parents, but it's the parents who are the ones who are kind of, running the show. So, so try to see past the technology into the musicality and go from there.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that's the bigger picture, really. It's for the music.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, let's talk about what are you each most excited about? Because you're on the board and the executive director, what are you most excited about for, let's say, a few years from now?
Oh, boy. A few years from now?
Traveling. Oh, you mean about the festival? Sorry.
About the festival.
Well, you still have half a margarita left in your previous...
That's it. Yeah, that's it. I mean, I would love it if we were less of a well-known secret. The music community knows about us, but the community in general doesn't. And even Kiwanis clubs, as they evolve, as new people come in, we're becoming less of an integral part of what they do. And so we're seeing in a normal year when we're live, we have hundreds of volunteer hours. And the reason that we're called the Kiwanis Music Festival is because back in the 80s, the National Capital Region Kiwanis clubs kind of adopted us unofficially as a project. And so they all of them, they gave us volunteers, they gave us funding. But as you know, as the service clubs get older and fewer people come in, fewer younger people come in, we're seeing fewer volunteers. We're seeing their donations are dropping as well because they're not as big and busy as they used to be. So I would somehow like to see us go back to being a well-known event on the Ottawa scene, where people say, "Oh, wait, choirs is happening at Dominion Chalmers. I've got to go and see that," and because that doesn't happen anymore. And it's unfortunate because there is amazing music coming out of our competitions. Amazing music, NAC quality music. And you can go in a normal year, you can go in, pay $5 at the door and have an evening of concert quality music. People just don't know about it anymore.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
sorry, go ahead.
No, please, Andy, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, you asked what we're most excited about. And I guess I'm relatively new to the festival from a board perspective. And my background is in marketing, and I'm really excited that there are opportunities out there right now that we, as an organization that has been led very, very well by some very capable people and a board that's been very supportive, but there's some things that we've missed out on. As we've seen the social media world explode, and as we've seen the new digital platforms evolve, while we've embraced certain elements of that and have a festival now that is a fully digital festival for this year, there are elements that I'm excited about because we haven't yet really leveraged social media in any meaningful way. We haven't yet explored how this might enhance our visibility and recognition within the community. And, we have a lot of participants. And so if all of those participants start, with their Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, for the older folks, Twitter, et cetera, we may well see a real explosion in what the festival means in the community. And that's sort of what I've started to bring into the festival at the board level.
That sounds like a fantastic initiative going forward, something the board may wish to consider, because when you talk about the age demographic of people who use the various social media sites, in most cases, it's the younger folks. Your attendees, in most cases, who attend the festival and submit, who would leverage this. And even having, anyway, we can get into the marketing aspect later, but I'd be very happy to help offer some suggestions for that. That's fantastic.
Great.
Now, what does your personal future look like, Kim? Like, are you still working at the bookstore? Are you going to take more of a role in Kiwanis? Like, where you see yourself?
Well, for the next few years, it's really, running the festival, working at the bookstore, which, is the bookstore is my happy place. So, leaving that would be difficult. It's just part-time, so it's not like it's a major thing. And to be frank, when I go there, I'm not in charge of anything, which is lovely. With the festival, with the festival, I'm the fan, and so the decisions come at me, and so it's lovely. I love working for the festival. I love what the festival does. I love our mandate. The people I work with are great. And just, in a live festival, going from venue to venue to venue to, from piano to strings to voice to music theater to choir to bands to orchestras to all of those different things, and just watching all these kids work through their nerves and bring this beautiful music to life, it'd be hard to give that up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let her either.
So for music lovers in the community that are looking to try and engage with the festival as a virtual festival. What's the best way for people to get to the great music that is being submitted?
We will be putting together a highlights reel of all of the winning performances, and that will be available for a month on YouTube. And so there'll be a link on our website. There'll be a link as a playlist. That'll be available, for about a month or so, and then we'll pull it down because it is kids and videos, and so you have to be kind of careful about it. So yeah, but that'll be all the winning performances. In a normal year, we would have a highlights concert, which would probably have about 20 performances, the best, not necessarily the winners, but the most entertaining performances from the festival as given to us by the adjudicators. Because we can't do that, we're doing the highlights reel, which will have more performances and broken into disciplines. So yeah, so that's the best way, really, because otherwise, that's it. For now.
Unfortunately, because of privacy, that we don't want to expose these young people without due process, then we everything is kind of like only available to the adjudicators until the highlights reel, and those individuals that will be in the highlights reel will be informed that this is what's going to happen.
Well, maybe you'll be surprised. One day you might have, a future Justin Bieber who submits it and it goes viral.
Yep. No, you just don't know.
So from a community involvement perspective, I know with the volunteer hours being probably cut back or almost eliminated with no live events, what can people in the community do now to help the Kiwanis Music Festival and get involved to try to make sure that it is bigger and better on the sort of flip side of this pandemic?
Andy?
So that's a great question, Sean. It really is. Right now, the only thing that I can think of is that they, put into their calendar, volunteer for the Kiwanis Ottawa Music Festival when it becomes live again. Because at this point, truly, I cannot express with enough gratitude how Kim and Christopher have really done a remarkable job of ensuring our not only that the festival continue, but that our fiscal situation is okay. Because I know I have friends within the festival community, for different kinds of festivals than what we offer, and they are, they're wondering if they're going to be working at all, let alone on a reduced level. And we have, so there's two aspects of our, there's the income versus expenses, and much of our expense is actually in having the live version of the festival. So there's also revenues that come in from the live festival, but because the live festival isn't happening, those expenses we don't have, and the revenues we don't have. But at the end of the day, we're financially we're okay. And so this has given us a footing so that when we do come back in a live mode, we will be in a financial position to be able to continue offering what the festival has done for, this is the 76th version thereof. The second one that's virtual, hopefully the last one that's virtual fully. But it is, we're lucky. We are absolutely, and I am grateful every day that we have managed to weather the storm in that regard.
Well, with such a varied and storied history of, you said 76 years, this is just another little blip in the road, but everybody knows Kiwanis Music Festivals the music must go on.
Yes,
the music
absolutely.
must go on.
So Sean, to get back to your question, we do post openings at Volunteer Ottawa. And so definitely, if you're interested in volunteering in the community, Volunteer Ottawa is one of the best places to go to. We also have volunteer opportunities posted on our Support the Festival page on our website. So they can go there and check us out. We're always looking for volunteers when we're live. But right now it's a reduced group of volunteers. It's the board, it's our music committee that are the discipline coordinators for the different disciplines. They're going to be helping the adjudicators remotely. But that's, at this time, that's basically it. But we often, we need people in a live festival, we need people at the door selling tickets, telling people where to go. We need people sitting by the adjudicators to make sure that they're not, going off the reservation at all. We need people helping putting together the paperwork. We need people in the office. We need, in a regular festival, we need, it's hundreds of man hours, people hours, volunteer hours.
It's an incredible festival, and I think very, very unique, especially for the youth of today, to get that experience, to get out there, but for people to come and enjoy music that they probably didn't even realize they'd enjoy so much.
Yeah.
Being a kid, getting to sing in the music festival and having people come up to me afterwards to tell me how much it affected them and how amazing it was. I mean, it's something I still remember to this day, 30 years later. So, I mean, it's amazing to think the impact that this can have. And I mean, for you to pay $5 for an evening of music, I mean, what have you got to lose?
Well, exactly.
So my hope is that the other side of this pandemic, that people are even more keen than regular to get out and experience some of the great things that we've missed. And I really hope that they do look in at the Kiwanis Music Festival, because I think it's a great community effort and a really amazing experience for people.
Thank you.
Sean, I'm looking forward to hearing you sing one of these days. Now, maybe we'll save that for another segment. Let's talk about words of wisdom, right? We've already talked a bit about some of your organization's future, but let's talk about some words of wisdom. Like, what have you learned that you can impart for others looking to pursue perhaps music in today's world?
Make sure you have Kim on your team.
Oh gosh, no. I actually, again, and Andy and I were talking about this yesterday, and I said, I think when you do, and I've never done improv, but I've heard when you do improv, the mandate is to never say no, to always say yes, and then move it whatever way you want to go, right? And so, when life throws things at you, it's like, okay, well, that's. Somewhere I was reading a book the other day, and they said, when you hit a wall, you can either lean against it or butt your head against it. And so, you just, when somebody throws something at you like that, look at ways around it. Look at how it can maybe benefit you. Maybe it's an opportunity and a challenge at the same time. This time last year, we hit the wall. It was, after we butted our heads against it, it was like, okay, where the heck's the door? Because we need to get through this somehow.
Yeah.
And
And we had a lot of, as I say, I remember having conversations with, specifically it was with parents of participants, and everybody was in a pretty dark space at that time. Words of wisdom really, Kim said it, it's how do you come up with the new format? And so the words of wisdom would be sit down with your friends and colleagues and brainstorm, and don't be afraid of saying purple, fuchsia. I just throw out ideas until something, bamboo. Whatever comes into your mind, think about it for a second. Is there some way that we can connect the dots here? Because probably there's a solution. They always say if there's something that presents itself as a difficulty, it presents itself as an opportunity as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like I was just thinking, envisioning what you were saying, Kim, about that wall, leaning against it or headbutting it. But if you look up, the wall's not that high. You could jump it.
Exactly.
Or maybe there's a door on the side that you didn't even notice.
That's right. That's right. It's an opportunity, and it's hard sometimes to think about challenges as opportunities, right? Sometimes they seem overwhelming and insurmountable. But if you think about it long enough, if you've got a good group of people with you, inevitably there's a solution somewhere. Yeah.
As I said earlier, always look on the bright side of life.
Well, we're about to wrap up. Sean, do you have any last-minute questions for our friends here at the Kiwanis?
No, honestly, thank you both for joining us today. It's so nice to hear from you. There's just watching any sort of live event industry member during this situation is so hard because there's so many people that are unable to pivot or change or do anything. So they're just treading water until this is over. And every month we get sort of a blissful whisper of, oh, it's going to be all right soon. But soon can't come soon enough for a lot of people. So, I mean, it's great that you guys are sticking it out and really focusing on what you can do for now.
Yeah.
Because that's all we can do is to try and sort of get through this and look to tomorrow, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you for having us, and we'll be back next year to promote the live music part.
Exactly.
Oh, we look forward to having you both and hearing what some of the other great successes that the Kiwanis Music Festival has in store. So, Kim or Andy, how can somebody get in touch with you? Where do we go for more information, please?
So our website is OttawaKiwanisMusicFestival.com, all that. If you go to okmf.ca, that will get you to that other link. That's probably the easiest way. All of our contact information is on there. Just kind of go through. There's some fun stuff to read. It's more or less up to date. Pretty soon we'll be posting our program that will list, it's a PDF download, and it will list everybody who's performing in this year's festival. And once all the adjudications are done, it will be updated with all the kids who have won, the first, second, thirds, gold, silver, bronzes, and all that stuff. So that's probably the most fun reading that's going to be going up on the website soon.
Well, and there will be links, obviously, once the
highlights reel
is done. There will be links for that as well.
And then all of the social media that comes with that, obviously.
Obviously, yes.
So thank you so much today, folks. We were joined on the Pivoted Success podcast by Kim and Andy of the Kiwanis Music Festival. And on behalf of my co-host, Sean Cochran from TCC Canada, and myself, Jared Goldsmith from eSAX, thank you for listening and watching, and we hope you stay safe and keep playing those music instruments, folks. And we hope to see you at a Kiwanis Music Festival soon. Thank you.